Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hope all are doing good. Today we are going to start a new chapter of a science textbook, that is reproduction in plants. In reproduction in plants, in this chapter we will study mainly three topics. We have to study this reproduction in plants under three broad headings. One is what is reproduction? What is reproduction? Why is reproduction? Why is reproduction an important life process? An important life process. Then we will study the modes of production. We will study the modes of reproduction. Then we will study the modes of reproduction. Under modes of reproduction, we will study it under mainly two broad headings. One is asexual mode of production. Asexual mode of production. And after finishing this asexual mode of production, we will study the sexual mode of reproduction in plants. First of all, we will study what is reproduction. We will study what is reproduction. Production is the process of producing young ones. Producing young ones or offsprings that are similar to their parents. For example, a cat produces a kitten. A cat produces the kitten. A potato plant produces potato plant. A tomato plant produces tomato plant. Human beings produce human beings. That means reproduction is the production of young ones or offsprings similar to their parents. Why is this reproduction? Now we will study why is this reproduction important life process. During the whole life cycle of an organism, this organism undergoes through different phases, and it performs different types of life activities, and one of the life activity is this reproduction. This reproduction helps in keeping the progeny on the path of continuity. Otherwise, if these organisms don't reproduce, their population will vanish from this biosphere. That is why they reproduce. That is what is the importance of reproduction. They keeping the progeny on the path of continuity. Now we will study the different modes of reproduction that is used by plants so as to increase their number, so as to keep the path, so as to keep their progeny on the path of continuity. Now we will study the modes of production. Modes of reproduction. Modes of production. One mode that is used by plants is known as sexual mode of production. Sexual mode of reproduction. Another mode of production is asexual mode of production. Asexual mode of reproduction. Asexual mode of production. Sexual mode of production is that type of reproduction in plants in which plants use sex cells called gametes. Sex cells or gamete cells are used. Gamete cells are used. Sexual reproduction is that type of production in which no sex cell is involved. No sex cell is involved. No sex cell is involved. No sex cell is involved in asexual reproduction. And mainly in asexual reproduction, there is single parent involved. Single parent involved. Single parent is involved. Now first we will study this asexual mode of production, its different types. After finishing the asexual mode of production, we will study the sexual mode of production. Now we will study the sexual, we will study first the asexual mode of production. Asexual mode of production. Asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction in plants. As I told you that asexual reproduction is that type of production plants in which no sex cell or no gamete cell is involved. Different parts of the plants are involved for the production of new plants. These parts of the plants are known as vegetative parts. Sometimes these parts, such as roots, such as stem, and sometimes leaves in some plants are involved for the production of new plants. Then root, stem or leaves, or when these parts of the plants are involved for the production of new plants, then at that very moment these behave as vegetative parts. They behave as vegetative parts. Vegetative parts. And the mode of asexual reproduction in which these vegetative parts are involved is known as vegetative reproduction, vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation. I will give an example of root, where this root behaves as a vegetative part and is involved for the production of new plant. Example is sweet potato. Example is sweet potato. Sweet potato. Sweet potato is involved for the production of sweet potatoes. Root is involved for the production of new sweet potato plants. This root is this is a modified root. This sweet potato has swollen roots that's involved in the production of sweet potato plants. Now we will study stem. Example of stem, where stem behaves as a vegetative part. Example is potato. Potato has small depressions on the surface. These depressions are known as eyes. These eyes are involved for the production of new potato plants. Now we will study this leaves, where leaves are involved for the production of new plants. Example is bryophyllum. 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 In biophyllum, small plantlets develop on the margins of leaves of bryophyllum. Some plantlets develop on the margins, on the edges of plant of bryophyllum, and then these get detached into the soil and develop into new bryophyllum plants. This was vegetative propagation. Now we will study, keeping in view this asexual, keeping in view the advantages of asexual reproduction. Man has used this asexual reproduction and has used it for propagation. Now we will study that very vegetative propagation that man has developed, that is the artificial means of vegetative propagation. Artificial modes of vegetative propagation. Artificial modes of vegetative propagation. These artificial modes has been devised by man, keeping in view the advantages of vegetative propagation. One is, man is using where stem cuttings are used by man. Stem cuttings. Another is grafting. Third one is tissue culture. These are the three main artificial modes of vegetative propagation. Stem cuttings. The stems of some plants are cut and they are planted in the soil where they develop new plants. Example, we are having rose stems are taken and they are planted in the soil, they develop into new rose plants. Grafting, where we take a particular desired plant, and plant it on the root of another plant, and develop on the root of this is known as stalk. The desired plant which we want to graft is known as cycon, and this is tightly packed, we will get desired plant in the future after grafting. And now third one, that is tissue culture. This tissue culture is a new technique that has devised by scientists in labs. It is a new technique of vegetative propagation. In vegetative propagation, we will study now the vegetative propagation. We will study now the tissue culture. In tissue culture, this is the third type of artificial modes of vegetative propagation. In this, an undifferentiated vast mass of fast dividing cells. Dividing cells are taken from plants, from certain parts of the plants where there are undifferentiated cells. Undifferentiated cells are those cells which has not yet differentiated into a particular type of cells. These cells are taken and these are placed in a nutrient medium. They placed in a nutrient medium in the presence of nutrients and certain hormones and small plantlets start developing, and this small plantlets start developing after certain period of under proper conditions, by giving proper conditions of temperature, nutrients, hormones. This undifferentiated fast dividing cells grows into particular small plantlets. These plantlets are taken out from these test tubes and placed in soil and planted in soil. This is known as this technique of growing the undifferentiated fast dividing cells in the nutrient medium and taking these small plantlets from these test tubes and planting them in the soil is known as micropropagation. Now we have completed the asexual mode of all the modes of asexual reproduction. You are hereby advised to go through your book and study these asexual mode of reproduction in detail. In the next lecture, we will take your sexual mode of reproduction in plants. Till then, goodbye. Assalamu alaikum.